Here we go. It is the Talkin' Buds Bill Show, back in the saddle. Brian, we are basically at the midway point of the NFL season, which on the one hand makes me so sad. I know it makes you sad too.
Oh, big time.
Like,
I hate when it's coming to the end.
Oh, in the blink of an eye, here we are. It's incredible. If you sit back and you look at the AFC, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but it seems to me like it's a 3-horse race in the AFC. Those 3 teams have spent the last few weeks loading up. You got the Chiefs going and getting DeAndre Hopkins. You've got the Bills getting Amari Cooper. You've got the Ravens today going and getting Deontay Johnson. And it's like everyone it's an arms race. And so if we take a step back and we look at the Bills in comparison to the Ravens and the Chiefs, how are you feeling at this point in the season with respect to how the Bills can compete with those teams down the stretch here? You know, they played the Chiefs, they played the Ravens, a few weeks ago, and it did not go very well. They've got the Chiefs coming up in a couple of weeks here. Like, you're the general manager of the Buffalo Bills, and you're taking a look at your roster, and you know that these are the 2 teams. You're going to have to go through one of, if not both of these 2 teams if you want to achieve your goal of getting to and winning the Super Bowl. Where are you looking with respect to this Bills roster and how you can improve it ahead of next week's trade deadline?
I'm looking solely probably at defense, mainly in the secondary. Like, I know we've had a couple low-scoring games, which is great, but look at the teams we were playing. They're not great offensive teams, so it's not a good test for the defense. We're still very injured on defense, so having help in the secondary, Damar Hamlin, though he is leading the team in interceptions, I just don't see that going long-term, especially in the playoffs. So somebody at safety or even, linebacker, Terrell Bernard can't stay healthy, so maybe another solid piece around there to help out. But as far as the offense, I'm pretty happy with how the offense has looked. We haven't faced the best. The Seahawks have a decent defense. They're not the best, but so I think my focus would be on defense if I'm Brandon Beane.
So do you think the Cooper acquisition is enough on offense? Because I'm with you in that opinion. I think, if you're going to – the key to beating these 2 teams is trusting your star quarterback and his ability to spread the ball out on offense, which he's done a really good job on so far this season. But are you able to stop the 2 offenses that you'll need to stop in order to win those games? And so I'm with you on defense has to be the priority.
And you're right. Like, we can't have shootouts with these games again because A, it's going to blow my heart up, and B, we tend to lose those games. So just to have a solid defensive performance in one of those big games would give me confidence about the future of this team.
Let's start with the Chiefs. They're undefeated. But Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a particularly great season.
No, he hasn't.
So you're kind of looking at it going, they could possibly be had this year, but do you have faith in the Bills personnel to do that? Well, I guess we're going to find out in a couple weeks, but it's really because you saw with the Ravens a few weeks ago, what the Ravens game plan is on offense. Derrick Henry's going to run you over. Lamar Jackson's going to run you over, and they're going to run the ball down your throat. That's the Ravens plan. But with the Chiefs, it's like there's all that history there. Mahomes always plays really well against the Bills. It's like at this point in time, I don't love that matchup. And I just really hope that the powers that be sees what you and I see and is like, listen, because while the Chiefs and the Ravens are both the other 2, I guess, powerhouses of the AFC, It's not like either one of them is a runaway. Like, yes, the Chiefs are undefeated, but like we just said, they're not. This has not been a great season for Patrick Mahomes. So it's like if you do the right things and make the right moves, you can beat these two teams.
Oh, I agree. And I think it really comes down to if Sean McDermott could get over that hump with Andy Reid, because Andy Reid just mentally dominates him every time we play. So even if the personnel's right on the field, I still like I get nervous with McDermott calling the plays or just being the head coach there because we've seen this over and over again.
And Andy Reid having his number.
Oh, Andy Reid is just he dominates it. It's kind of like Bill Belichick back in the day. Like we can't get over that hump.
Yeah, it's something that I don't know. I don't want to talk about this because there's still half a season left. But yeah, it's true. Like you're going into the playoffs and it's like I don't have faith in this coaching staff.
Like regular season's one thing, and we know we can win in the regular season. It's when playoffs come. And that's when McDermott gets very hyper. He doesn't prepare the team correctly. Even with Joe Brady, like they're his minions, so they're doing what he says. And that's the one thing that I wish Brandon Beane would just execute. I know you can't do it right now. It should have been done last year, but I that's why I'm nervous about the playoffs is mainly Sean McDermott.
And you're right. You don't want to get into a shootout with either of those offenses.
No, because
I have faith that Josh Allen could go blow for blow with both Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, but do you have faith in your defense to make the stop? Like I have faith in Spags and the Chiefs defense to come up big when needed. It's like I don't necessarily have faith in Sean McDermott and the Bills' defensive personnel.
and you've seen it time and time again this year. They start slow, they get gashed in the run. Sometimes they come alive in the second half, but the last two games they've played a complete game, which is great, but they're not battle tested yet against these juggernauts.
Mm-hmm. So if you look ahead at the schedule, they've got a 4-week. So they've got the Dolphins coming up this Sunday. Then they've got the Colts. Those are two games that I think you've got them circled. That's like, unless something goes very wrong, they should win both of those games. But then they've got this stretch of Chiefs, Niners, Rams, Lions. Those are 4 tough games against 4 pretty quality teams. The good news is the division, the Bills have already won the division. Like, just give the Bills the AFC East chance. Like, it's over. So, do you take a different approach going into that? It's not like you're like, oh, we need to win those games, the division titles on the line. It's like you're kind of more relaxed in that sense, but it's also interesting because this is quality playoff type competition. I mean, you could argue the Rams. The Rams are pretty banged up, so maybe not. But like, man, you got the Chiefs and the Lions in that stretch, the 2 favorites of each conference. So it's going to be a really good kind of measuring stick to be like, yeah, it looks great when you go out there and you kick the crap out of the Seattle Seahawks, but where are you at against these 2 legit Super Bowl contenders?
And I'm very curious to see how the defense reacts against a team like the Lions. Because we've seen Dan Campbell. He's calling some of the craziest like trick plays I've seen in a long time in the NFL. So I'm curious to see how our defense can manage something like that.
Yes. Really, really interesting for sure.
What's your prediction for record of that 4-game stretch?
Prediction for record.
Like I'd be happy with 2-2 kind of thing.
I'd
as
also
long
be
as we
happy
beat
with 2-2.
The Dolphins and Colts. If we don't beat those teams, I would like 3-1. But
I'm gonna be honest, the Lions. I could fully see the Bills handing the Chiefs the first loss of the season. I could just see them having a game. They're at home. It's like Taylor Swift is going to be in the building, which will be a distraction. I know she was there in the playoffs last year, but this is the regular season. You said earlier that the Bills are a different team in the regular season. I could see them handing the Chiefs their first L. The game that I'm like, ooh, the Lions on the road into the Detroit Lions, are a wagon. They are a wagon. They are pummeling teams week in and week out.
And they're doing it like the Chiefs used to do it. They sort of have that like, mess around sort of mojo going on.
Yes. It is like The Lions. It's so funny. The Lions have become a team where it's like I have to watch their games every week because they're so explosive on offense. And Jared Goff, like he's a pocket passing quarterback, but he is like dialed in. He's the best version of a pocket passer you will see in today's NFL, week in and week out, 100%.
And I've never seen a team be like just switched like on a dime, be such an embarrassment for so long. And the last 2 years, you forget all about that.
Man, you look around the NFC, they're the favorite. Like who else in the NFC is like the Vikings are starting to come back to earth. The Niners are banged up. Green Bay, I think, is still a bit too young, and Jordan Love's had some injury issues. It's like the same, like the Commanders are a nice story, but again, still like not quite there yet. It's like who else? I guess maybe if the Eagles can get their shit together, but like who else in the NFC is going to challenge the Lions?
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's even close to the Lions.
I know. It's you think of the AFC as like, oh, the Chiefs are running away with the AFC because they're undefeated, but it's like not really. Like the Ravens are right there. And
what about the Steelers? The Steelers have been unbelievable. Their defense is crazy.
You know what though, Brian? Here, you know what? Let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule. The Pittsburgh Steelers have had the easiest schedule in all of the NFL. And like you take a look at the rest of the way for them, it's like they've got the Chiefs in the second last game of the year. That's a game where it's like, okay, let's see what you're made of. They've got the Ravens the week before that too. They got the Ravens twice. So it's like, let's see where you're at against a team like that. Let's see what Russ Wilson can do against defenses like those. Like the Steelers are a nice story, don't get me wrong, but like, do I think the Steelers are in the class of who we've deemed the top 3 of the AFC? No, I do not.
I don't know, man. The George Pickens, the connection he's having with Russ, and then that defense, they could go on a super run.
The defense is very good, no doubt about it. So, can we just take a minute and just talk about the state of the AFC East? Specifically, the New York Jets. Oh my God. Oh my God, man. Are the New York Jets the most pathetic franchise in all of professional sports?
Nothing makes me happier than to see what has happened this year. Because every season show, everybody was like, oh, Aaron Rodgers MVP. The Jets are going to win the AFC East. The Jets are the worst team in the league. The Patriots even handled them. They're the worst team in the league.
And you couple that with the fact that, like, they fired Robert Saleh. Their defense instantly gets worse the second they fire. Because earlier in the season, it was, well, you know, Rodgers and the offense are having trouble, but that defense, that's an elite, that's a top 5 defense. They fire Robert Saleh. Their defense is now awful. They literally hand the keys to Aaron Rodgers, who does whatever he wants, brings in Devontae Adams, and they're terrible. Terrible.
Well, I know. And like last year at this time, they were like 4-3. So I think they owe Zach Wilson.
Last year was Zach Wilson. Yes.
Yeah. They owe him an apology because he's way better than Rodgers right now.
Yeah. They had a better record last year with Zach Wilson. It's just, do you think Aaron Rodgers comes back next year?
No, I think he's just going to hide away in some darkness retreat. The fact that Garrett Wilson can't even catch a ball to save his life, he gets hit in the chest with a ball and drops it. I'm sure Rodgers is just mentally breaking down. Mm-hmm. His ego cannot take, especially the bad press. So I think he is out of there.
Yeah, I think he probably retires.
100%.
Now, do you want this to be the last year of your career? I was thinking about Aaron Rodgers and just like the damage he's done to his legacy in the NFL. Because if you think about Aaron Rodgers' career, for a long time, people referred to him as the greatest to ever play the position. People were like, he is the best thrower of the football in the history of the game, the best, like, just in terms of his ability to play the quarterback position.
And he was at one point.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. People were saying that. And now when you think of Aaron Rodgers, you think of all the weird shit that goes on outside of football. And now, like his last season in Green Bay, he was not very good. I think you can put to rest like the 2 years that he won the MVPs with Matt LaFleur. I think you can put the whole, oh, he carried LaFleur to rest. I think Matt LaFleur resurrected Aaron Rodgers' career. And I think now his last year in Green Bay was not very good. And now this year, this is an unmitigated disaster. What's gone on with the New York Jets this season? Disaster.
It makes me so happy when we talk
It is.
about this.
I know.
Love this.
It's hilarious. It is hilarious.
But you know what I think? We should really be blaming Tom Brady because he made everybody think that age doesn't really matter. You can go to another team when you're 40 and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen for everybody. Like Rodgers is way too old, and he didn't even train in preseason. You think you could just walk in at 40 years old with a brand new team and everything's going to be fine, just like in Green Bay.
Brady was a freak with the fitness for sure, and Brady was always like a pocket passing quarterback. A huge part of Rodgers' game was moving out and extending plays. He can't do that anymore.
And that's why you saw Big Ben come down. Like he's a moving quarterback. Like Josh Allen's not going to last forever. Aaron Rodgers is very similar.
Yes, exactly. And you can't just become that overnight. So it's an absolute disaster. Here we are halfway through the season. It's over. The division's won. Like give the Bills the AFC East shirts and the hats. They've won.
I reposted something on Twitter last week. It was 4 different hosts on Fox Network, and 2 of them picked the Jets and 2 picked the Dolphins to win the AFC East. Yeah. Freezing cold takes first put it out, so I just reposted their tweet. Yeah, that made my day.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So we should talk a little bit about this Sunday's matchup with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, Tua's back, but that didn't help them this past week. And the Dolphins are in a situation with their record too, where it's over. So are you expecting a motivated Dolphins team? Or are you expecting or do you think like, you know what? It's a divisional game. Never take a divisional game lightly, no matter what happened earlier this year. It's not just going to be a cakewalk.
Well, that's how I look at it because the Bills, potentially could lose a lot of games coming up in a 4-game stretch. So you can't take the Dolphins or the Colts for granted, especially the Dolphins with Tua back. You saw their offense look slightly better than it has in the last few weeks. But at the same time, I'm worried watching Tua play, especially against the Bills. He gets injured a lot against us. So that's something we'll have to watch for. Yeah, I know Tyreek is, he's back on his stuff. He's saying start me in fantasy again. So you got to look out for him. He's trying really hard now, especially with Tua back. And when the Dolphins play the Bills, they circle that game. So we have to do the same thing.
100%. So we're going to be back next Tuesday after the trade deadline. We'll discuss what additional moves the Bills made, if any. So if you want to join us for that, hit that like and subscribe button below. We're here throughout the rest of the season. So we're just going to continue our casual Bills banter. If you like casual Bills banter, casual football banter, this is the channel for you. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next week.